Hi everybody, welcome back to the Stitch Sessions. We are in the holiday mode. If you're new here, I'm Karen and I love sharing my love of crochet and crafting with crochet with you all. So in today's tutorial, we are going to work on making these really cute little snowflake appliques. Now you can definitely make these as ornaments. It would just take buying some starch and spraying with them to make them stiff. So a lot of vintage or antique crochet snowflakes are made like that. Now I'm going to use these as appliques to put on items, things like scarves, cardigans, hats, blankets, all kinds of things. So that's why you see some of these with long tails here. Now I just wanted to show you that I made these using different types of yarn. And so for the most part, this is like a lightweight number 3 yarn. And this one has that really cool funky texture, but of course on camera, that's not going to show up very well. So we're going to use a different yarn for today, but I just wanted to show you what a really sweet, cool little effect. You can find this yarn in the baby section, and I'm so sorry, I forget what the name of this is, but I'm sure you'll recognize it as soon as you see it. It's got this just little shiny strand that runs through it, and it just makes it look so sweet for a snowflake. So for these two, I used a 5mm hook for that lightweight number 3. It's also known as an H or an 8 for those of you that go by that label. So that's why I just thought I'd show that to you there. And then I made this one earlier today using a 4.5mm hook, which is also known as a G or a size 7. And this is using the Premier Playfair yarn, I believe it's called. And it is a lightweight number 2 or a number 3. I think it's a number 2 by its thickness here. But as always, I will leave a graphic for you up on the screen. If you are curious, that is the yarn I'm going to use today. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm all excited. I'm starting to talk about the materials. But I just wanted you guys to see the effect. So this is like a 6-pointed snowflake. We start in the center and we work our way out. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can do it with 5 points. It's the exact same method. So I'll show you how you have an option to have some variety while creating this little snowflake. So are you guys ready? Let's get crocheting our snowflake applique. Okay, so as previously mentioned, I am going to be using the Premier yarn, the Playfair yarn, I believe it's called. And it is a very lightweight yarn. You can absolutely use a medium 4-weight yarn. Just remember that your snowflake is going to be a little larger. So for these ones, you can see even in this one. So this is the Playfair yarn that I'm using. And already it's slightly smaller. Now, mind you, I also used a slightly smaller hook. And so, especially if you want to make snowflakes in different sizes, that's a really cool trick, is just change the size of your hook or use a few different yarn weights. So I'm actually, for this project, going to go down a hook size from the 4.5. I'm actually going to be using a 4mm hook. Hopefully you guys can see that, which is also known as a G or a size 6 for those of you that go by that hook label. Okay. So as always, make sure you have a yarn needle as well and a handy pair of scissors to snip your yarn. So let's get going here. Okay, now we're going to begin from the center, and you can see here in this particular one, I used like a chain 4 ring, but in these, I tended to use a cinch circle, which I kind of like to do. This one, I did use a chain 4 ring. So it's totally up to you how you want the center of your snowflake to look. I think that looks kind of cool for a snowflake effect. It just really makes it nice and airy. Now for this one, I'm going down a hook size and I am going to make this little ring just a little bit smaller. So here I chained 4, and for today's snowflake, I am going to chain 3. Okay. Now this is the 6-pointed snowflake. I'm going to be making the 5-pointed snowflake. And so that's why I want to make a smaller ring. So if you want to opt for the 6-pointed, you can still chain 3 like I'm going to. It'll just make your center a little bit tighter. So just something to think about depending on how you like your design to look. So we're going to begin by placing a slip knot on our hook. And then I'm going to chain up 3. So we have 1, 2, and 3. I'm not going to do it too tightly because I want to make a ring here. And then I'm going to find the very first chain and I'm going to slip stitch to join my chain into a ring, just like that. Now you can see this ring is very tight, okay? And like I said, I want to keep a nice tight center, so I'm just going to show you how. There it is. There's the center of the ring there. If you're super new, I probably would recommend you doing a chain 4. Some people even do a chain 5. That's quite a large ring for me, but it just helps make things a little bit easier. So that's going to be my center that I'm going to work into. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to chain 1, and then I'm going to place my hook into the center of the ring. And once you do a few of these, the center will open up nicely. And I am going to place a single crochet. So I'm just going to pull that through and single crochet. Okay, just like that. There you go. You can see the center is already starting to open up a little bit on its own. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to single crochet into the center of this ring to give me a total of 10 single crochets. Now remember I said I'm going to make a 5-pointed snowflake this time. So a little trick here is you just multiply the number of points that you want by 2. So I'm going to do 5 points. So I'm going to multiply that by 2, and I'm going to make sure that I have 10 single crochet stitches. Okay. Now in this one, I did 6. So hopefully you guessed it. I made sure that I fit 12 single crochet stitches here. So however many points, you multiply it by 2 to begin your center. Okay, so I have 10 single crochets in the center of my ring there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that very first single crochet and I'm going to slip stitch to join the round here. And then I slip stitch to join. So now we've got a ring with 10 single crochets in it. Okay, so that's round number 1. So let's move on to round number 2. And so for round number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and then right back into this stitch where we slip stitch, we're going to single crochet. So that first one might be a little tight because that's where we slip stitched into. So it's just giving me a little bit of a hard time here. There we go. So we're going to single crochet into that first stitch. Then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then into the very next stitch, we are going to single crochet. There we go. That's a little easier. Just like that. So we have this little chain 6 loop. And then what we're going to do is we are going to go into the next stitch. We are going to single crochet. And again, we're going to chain 6. And then into the next stitch, we're going to single crochet. And that's what you're going to do all the way around. So each loop will take up 2 stitches. So you have your single crochet, chain 6, single crochet. So at the end, you should have a total of 5 of these chain loops. Okay, and I'm just single crocheting into my very last stitch. And then what I want to do is I want to slip stitch into that very first single crochet just to officially close off round number 2. Just like that. So you can see I have 5 chain loops. It does look a little wonky still, but now you can see where our shape is going. So you have 5 chain loops there. Okay, let's go on to round number 3. Okay, so going on to round number 3, what we need to do here is make our way up to the top of this chain loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch our way up. So we're going to slip stitch our way up 3 chains. Okay, so we are going to start down here and just slip stitch 1, 2, and whoops, and 3. Okay, so that's just our sneaky little way of getting back up there. So then what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet into the chain space, and then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to go back into that chain space and single crochet again. So this creates a little tiny point up there. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Just be aware, try not to chain too tightly, right? So we just want to make our way over to the next petal here, or the next chain loop, I should say. And into the loop, we're going to single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. Okay, just like that. And then you just want to see how you like the chain 3 in between. I know that when I did the 6 pointed snowflake, that I actually like to chain 4 in between. So you just want to make sure that your work sits nice and flat. So depending on the number of loops or points that you have, you may want to adjust that. So for this one that has 5 points, I'm only going to chain 3 in between each one. So I'll chain 1, 2, 3, and into the loop, I will single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. And this part is the same whether you're doing a 5-pointed snowflake or a 6-pointed snowflake, okay? And then I chain 3. And I keep doing this until I've stitched into all of my chain loops. Okay, so I've come up to the end here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to find that very first single crochet right there, and I'm going to slip stitch to join round number 3, just like that. And round number 3 is complete. And actually, you can see there, I probably could have used 4 chains in between each loop, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. So I'm just going to kind of hand block it there with the heat of my hand, because as we do the next round, this will relax a little bit. So you can sort of see the points are starting to make themselves known, right? So it just looks like a pentagon right now. And we've got our 5 chain loops. So that is round number 3. So let's go on to round number 4. This is where the magic really happens. So I'm going to now, for round number 4, I am just going to chain 1 right where I am. And then, remember how we did that chain 2 in between the single crochets? We're going to work into here. What we're going to do is we're going to place a shell stitch in here. So that means we're going to do 3 double crochets. So we'll yarn over, insert into that chain 2 space, and then we will double crochet as usual. Okay, so we're going to place a second one. And then we have a third one, just like that. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we're going to go back into that same space and we're going to place another shell stitch. So that means another set of 3 double crochet stitches. There's the second one, and there is the third one. Okay, so now your point is becoming much more prominent. Isn't that cool? Okay, and now what we're going to do is into the chain 3 space, or if you're doing chain 4 space, we're just going to place a single crochet. So it's a little bit of a shorter stitch than the double crochets. There we go. And that just helps to anchor that corner down. Then all you're going to do is you're going to proceed into the next chain 2 little space there, and you're going to repeat what we did here. We're going to place a shell, chain 2, and shell. And for those of you that are big fans of working on granny squares and granny motifs, that will sound very familiar to you because that's generally how we create our corners. So we have 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then back into that same chain 2 space, we place another 3 double crochets. So I've got one more here. And then you always go into that chain space between the loops and you single crochet. Okay. And that is how we make our way around round number 4. So go ahead and do all 5 points, and then I will take you through one more round and our snowflake will be complete. Okay, so I've just finished my 5th point here, and then at the very end, let's slip stitch where that chain 1 is right there. And that's just going to help us close off our round just nice and neatly. And round number 4 is complete. Now, right now, it just looks like a star, right? And if you wanted to leave it this way, you absolutely can. And just leave it as a star shape. But I really want it to look like a snowflake. So we're going to do one more round here. We're going to go on to round number 5. And we're going to add just a sweet little detail. So I'm going to chain 1. And then what I'm going to do is into the back loops only of this shell stitch here, I am going to single crochet. So I'm just going to insert my hook and I'm going to single crochet my way across until I get to the corner. So there's the second one. And there's the third one. Okay. And then I come up to that chain 2 space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to single crochet into that space. Okay, and then into this chain 2 space, we're going to place 1 single crochet. Then we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to create a little picot here. So that means you're going to find the top of that single crochet that you just completed, and I like to go in the front loop and then the side loop here. And then I just pull through and I slip stitch through all of those loops. And that just creates a sweet little picot there, okay? And then I just continue on into the shell stitch again, going into the back loops only. So I'm going to single crochet, 1, 2, and 3. And then remember we had I think I said single crochet. Into the back loops of the double crochet, I'm going to be doing a single crochet. And then the single crochet here where we went into that chain space, we're going to slip stitch into that. So you're just going to slip stitch into that. And then you begin again on the next set of shell stitches. So you go into the back loops here, single crochet, so it should be 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then into the chain space, you do a single crochet, only 1 single crochet in the chain space. You chain 4, and then you're going to go back into the front loop of the single crochet and into the side loop. Some people only do 1 loop. I like to do these 2. It just makes me feel like it's a little bit more secure, and slip stitch. And then we go back down the other side of the other 3 double crochets. So we single crochet, back loops only, single crochet, and then slip stitch. There we go. So now you're getting a little bit more of a prominent point with a little embellishment, and it just rounds out the edges there. And that's it. So for round number 5, just do that all the way around. And we're just about done our snowflake. Okay, I've just finished coming around my 5th point, and so I'm going to slip stitch into that single crochet where I would anyway. And then I'm just going to come up to the side here where I did that very first single crochet, and I'm just going to slip stitch into that just to finish off the round very nicely. just like that. Look at that. See, that looks a little bit more like a snowflake now with that embellishment. Isn't that sweet? So I'm going to leave a long tail because for me, I'm going to sew this on to an item. If you're going to use this as an ornament, you can just make a loop and leave it as such, or you can even leave a long tail but then sew it up so your loop comes to here, and that would look really sweet too. Remember, I would recommend using spray starch to make this stiff if you're going to use it as an ornament. This is also a really fun idea to make gift tags, and so you can make different colored snowflakes and you can color code them so each recipient has their own color, and that way that's a great way to keep it a mystery. That way you know who the gift is for, but they don't quite know yet. And the other thing I love about that idea is it's reusable. So something to think about, another use for this really sweet applique. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of a long tail here so you can get a better look. I'm going to snip my yarn, and then I'm just going to pull that through. And our snowflake is complete. Look at that. So this one is a 5-pointed snowflake, but the whole method is exactly the same for the 6-pointed snowflake. So which do you like better, 6 points or 5? Now again, with a different weight yarn, the 5-pointed snowflake can look slightly different as well. So it's totally up to you. I actually do like the 6-pointed a little bit nicer. To me, it looks a little fuller, but I like the idea of having different sizes of snowflakes for this particular project. So let me know, which one would you prefer? 6 points or 5 points? Leave it for me in the comment box down below. Now, if you have any detailed questions about this tutorial, or any tutorial, of course, make sure to leave them for me in the description box down below. As always, you know, you can also send me an email directly. You can email me at info@crochetcrafty.com. And you guys know I'm very happy to help you. As always, I also encourage you, if you are emailing me, send me a picture of your particular dilemma. It really does help me to help you figure out your way around whatever issue you may be having. And as always, don't forget, come check me out on my website, which is crochetcrafty.com. There's lots of really cool free patterns there. There's sizing charts for you. And make sure to sign up for my newsletter. Now, it has been in the past a monthly newsletter. I may be shifting it to a quarterly newsletter just because it's still me running this whole show, and it's getting a bit challenging to keep up with the monthly newsletter. There's a lot of really cool things in that newsletter. You're going to get a lot more in-depth behind the scenes photographs of a lot of the projects that we work on this channel, as well as I always give you a free written pattern with every issue. And if you're looking for any other fun patterns, I'm still working on building up my portfolio in my Etsy shop. And I know a lot of you really like that Wonderland pillow. I love that pillow project. That was November's pillow project. So that written pattern is already up and ready to go. And you can check the link for that in my Etsy shop link down below. All right, gang, that's it for today's tutorial. I believe in a couple of days, you're going to see the finale of the Christmas cardigan. I was hoping to have done this already a lot sooner, but you know, life gets in the way, but we're almost done. And I still think you'll have loads of time to finish this up before the Christmas season gets into full swing. So I hope you guys are having a great time. Happy crocheting as always. Thank you so much for joining me every week. I adore hanging out with you guys and sharing this fun craft called crochet. So make sure you take really good care, and I'll see you guys in next session. Bye-bye.